Enola Holmes. Um, yeah, Dave, Enola Holmes dropped on Netflix.
Top 10, number one, you don't say. Like anything on Netflix.
um, Starring Millie Bobby Brown.
Hmm.
Probably what, the second or third role she's had post Stranger Things. She's in Godzilla.
It's her first lead role.
First lead role.
Yeah,
And
that's notable. That's very notable.
Especially for someone who has the clout she has at such a young age.
Such a breakout. Only now, 16 years old. It's just the beginning for her.
It's directed by an inexperienced director in terms of film, Harry Bradbeer, who is known, has done some work for Fleabag and Killing Eve, but getting his real first chance here to do the big screen. And you got a couple of big name people alongside her. You got Henry Cavill playing Sherlock. You have Helena Bonham Carter playing the mother. It's go ahead. I don't really know where we're going.
It's interesting to get Henry Bradbeer as the director because there's some fourth wall breaking in Enola Holmes, and of course, fourth wall breaking was the central framing device for Fleabag, right? So in a sense, it's a good choice, I guess, right? Because at the end of the day, I think Enola Holmes, by design, is a more juvenile film, probably designed for kids and fans of Millie Bobby Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it's pretty good for what it's trying to do.
Yeah,
it's story's kind of whatever, and it's not the most unpredictable thing I've ever seen. But Millie Bobby Brown's a really talented, charismatic person, and it's great to see her have more charisma than, say, 11 does in Stranger Things. So, that's kind of all it takes for me sometimes.
No, I agree. And, this is based off a young adult book series by Nancy Springer. So it makes sense that it's a little bit more juvenile, a little bit more for the young adult age range. But I think that this is a fairly interesting and fun film. Even though it is maybe for a younger audience. I thought, like you said, Millie Bobby Brown was really engaging. I liked all the scenes with her and Helena Bonham Carter. I didn't really like Louis Partridge, who played Tewksbury. I thought he was a bit flat, and
she's just kind of taking his lunch money when they're in scenes together. She's a much more talented actor.
Yeah, she's just and so charismatic, and he just is a bit dry in that area, I'd say. But I thought all the action scenes were pretty fun, and even beyond that, I think some of the larger messaging, right? Like there's the scenes with the woman who taught her how to fight, and she has that really pointed line with Sherlock when she's like, you're comfortable like not speaking up because you're in a system that works for you instead of against you. Like I was like, oh, that's very pointed, makes a lot of sense. I think a great message to be kind of talking about here. I do think this movie was a little long. Like I think it could have been chopped down a little bit, maybe an hour 50. I mean, it went to I think like 205, 210. I was like, all right, this is a little bit long. I didn't need the whole like 30-minute ending prologue where she sees her mom and Sherlock decides to make her his child or whatever it is,
his ward,
yes. But overall I still thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah. What'd you think of Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes, notably busting at the seams in his shirts because he's so fucking jacked after Witcher and Superman and Fallout, right? Like kind of a stark visual for Holmes, but I would have liked more personally of Cavill. Like he's barely in the movie, honestly. He only has a few scenes, just talking scenes, right? And he's just kind of like propelling Enola forward for the most part in the movie. But it's an interesting portrayal of Sherlock. There's lots of them, of course. But what do you think?
I thought he was all right. I mean, when I think about Sherlock Holmes, I think about jacked dude who probably just like lifted beer kegs above his head, was doing squats, I don't know. It was definitely nice to see Cavill doing something that wasn't just being like a meat muscle action person. But I think it's hard to even really qualify because, like you said, other than a couple moments where he like figured things out and laid things out, and that's always one of the best parts about Sherlock Holmes. I didn't really get a chance to really even see what he could do in the role.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know Havel can do like debonair. He did that in The Man from Uncle.
Yep.
That's a lot of what reasons why people think he would be a good Bond. But like, he's just not given enough to do to really show anything off in Enola Holmes. Conversely, Minecraft, the other
Yeah.
brother, is played by Sam Claflin, and like that's such a one note like villain role and light villain. I don't know, just like he's obviously just the dipshit, like
Yeah.
misogynistic and all like of the times and all that. Like he was just really one note and frustrating. I wish, if this movie wasn't for kids, you would have gotten more teased or shown about his relationship with Fiona Shaw's character, which
Yeah.
definitely was a source of humor when it was
Mhm.
briefly touched on.
I actually wish we got a little bit more of Fiona Shaw's character a bit here, right? Because she comes in obviously fairly wealthy, and again, is kind of just like this character put in place to provide Enola with a car so she can get to the next part of her adventure, in a lot of ways, and like a small boss, if you will, in terms of her overall like video game type story. But
Right.
Fiona Shaw is just so uh I don't know, like she plays cold so well, and she was a little bit warmer in this role while still also being, menacing and obviously a antagonist. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I just feel like there was just so much more she could have done because it felt like maybe she could have turned or like aided Enola in some way, but instead it's just she's Minecraft's wannabe lover and kind of just like a dipshit as well. So it's a bit one note, I think, also for her when you have these talented people who can do so much more. Um, what do you think about Helena Bonham Carter? Usually we see her playing these dark, kind of like twisted roles in a lot of
Yeah.
senses, and this is different.
Still eccentric. I would have liked
Sure.
more. I actually thought it was pretty good. Um, yeah, she's actually in a good spot right now. I think with
Yeah.
coming off the Crown, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, could have used more. She's barely in it as well.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there'll be more with her in the next one,
Yeah,
or if she's
it,
always going to kind of be that
it's definitely
side.
left open to sequels.
Hmm.
And Millie actually is also a producer on this. She's invested in this franchise, it's a Enola Holmes series. So having a sequel like this would not surprise me at all. Um,
Hmm.
and there's what I think 5 or 6 of those Enola Holmes novels, so there's more material to adapt and work with. So I think the sequel is honestly pretty
Certain.
likely.
Yeah.
And you think Cavill and Carter perhaps could be optioned to come back, but who knows? I mean, what do you think about the fourth wall breaking? That's kind of an important structure choice. She's both talking to the audience at times as like a narrator, and then there's also moments where she looks at the camera in the middle of the action. Um, I thought one of those moments actually was pretty good when she winks when she's underwater, when she's
Underwater. Yep.
around. Other moments, though, it just kind of felt like lazy script to me a little bit when she's narrating. But I mean, it's more moments for Millie to just talk and kind of
Yeah.
cook. So I can't complain too much because I just like listening to her speak. She's really, really, really compelling person.
Yeah. The fourth wall breaking, I thought, was effective. A little overdone, but if you do it right, kind of like with Fleabag or even in this, it just adds so much to like the character. You get a better sense of the character, and if anything else, and I think kind of what anyone that's listening to this review is taking away is this movie is just a showcase for Millie Bobby Brown, pretty much.
Yeah,
And if all this is doing is letting her, kind of build her star, be more charismatic, show she has this range or this ability to play this kind of character, especially because 11 is fairly muted in Stranger Things by the
mm-hmm.
lack of understanding of the world in general and the fear that
He's
comes
also
along.
barely in Godzilla for what it's worth.
So this, if nothing else, this is a showcase for her, and if that fourth wall breaking allows more time for her to cook, so be it. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think overall, I would consider this a success for Millie Bobby Brown for Netflix. I think it's it's definitely gotten a lot more love than a lot of Netflix drops have, at least from what I'm seeing on Twitter. A lot of people watching it, commenting on
Yeah.
it. So it's an easy watch and it's fun. A little long, but fun.
Yeah, for sure. One last note, I would say that Partridge, that actor, looks like the cross between Dean Charles Chapman and one of the Sprouts twins. I kept looking at him and I'm like, you just have an uncanny resemblance to some recent male celebrities. Um, Unfortunately, the acting ability did not follow.
Yeah, unfortunately, better days ahead for Lewis Partridge, hopefully.